What's up, guys? Just getting everything set up here. Gonna do a little bit of an impromptu stream. All right, here we go. Here we go. Cool, cool. Hey, Larfwell. Not Law in this case. This is DDP, but what's up? B-Rob, what's good, man? Not a whole lot, man. Just getting set up for a impromptu live stream. So this one is going to be more of a kind of open forum, really. Talk a little bit about Mavs, Cowboys, really whatever you guys are wanting to go. Rangers King, oh no, still on my shift until 10. Oh, man. Well, it stays on there. This is an impromptu, somewhat unplanned stream in this case, but Lindell, sorry. What's up? Nothing much, man. Just testing some stuff out. I've been working on all the stuff with my stream and videos all evening, and I think I've actually got some really cool stuff that's going to come your way as far as what all I can do with my videos moving forward. So, by the way, guys, let me know if for some reason I'm lagging. If I'm lagging, I want to try and address that, obviously. I don't know if it's just something that's showing up on Facebook for some reason or what, but basically we're going to treat this kind of like an open forum here. If you got Cowboys, Mavs, or even if you want to talk other sport, general NBA, college football, whatever. If I know anything about it and have any insight to offer, I'm an open book. But while we get all set up and everything here, I suppose I can dive into just some of my thoughts on Cowboys training camp as of now. So if you watched the show last night with Law and I, then you already kind of know some of these thoughts. But some interesting tidbits I found out today. Law might have already mentioned them because he and I were talking back and forth earlier. But something of note I took was that Tank Lawrence is absolutely a man on a mission, it sounds like, at training camp. You know, him getting the franchise tag by no means did him getting lagging a little bit. All right, let me Let me try out a couple things here. I'll just keep talking while I'm doing this, though, so it doesn't interrupt the narrative flow of what I'm saying. But the idea is that even though he got his money, by no means has it affected his work ethic, because the dude is putting on a clinic as far as his work and training camp. He is basically lining up the entire offensive line. That was what I heard from Mike Fisher today. He basically pointed out every member of the offensive line: Tyron, Connor Williams, Zach Martin, Travis Frederick, Lyle Collins, and pretty much said, all right, I want you, and you. And not only did he go in one-on-one drills after each and every one of them, he busted out different moves doing it. That's the talk, is not only is he outworking just about everyone at camp, but he's also added to his repertoire, which is really impressive. And for a guy who's in a contract year, that could make it where the Cowboys will wish they had paid him this offseason as opposed to next, because you might have gotten him for like $17 million a year, but if he balls out like last year or one-ups it even, you're going to be looking $20 million or something to that effect, because that is your war daddy at that point. 2 straight seasons of that. Now, I still have some questions about the longevity of his career, but given everything he's shown and the work he's put in, then we'll work with it. If I'm lagging, so here's what I'll do. If I'm lagging, I'm going to flip off that. So we'll roll with more of a pure format there. I could just throw up the thumbnail, but that's not really what I was wanting to do. So I'll keep that on standby in case I need it. But in the meantime, see if that fixes it. The voice isn't lagging, at least. Damn Murphy Law. But anywho, yeah, so I'm really encouraged by what I've heard on that regard. Just his work ethic and everything he's done there. And the 2 stars of camp from the from Mike Fisher's point of view, have been Byron Jones, and I think he said the other one was Cheeto. I think those have been the two guys showing out the most, and it's really interchangeable which of them you would rate first. So let me dive into some of the comments here. Marcos Levy, did you see Luka's 2K rating, 79? Yeah, that's a really tough one. I don't know how you even begin, frankly, to rate something like that, because the guy has not played at all in the NBA yet. So we have no idea what he's really going to do. And I'm hoping he balls out, but man, I wonder this every year. Every time anyone comes into the league as a rookie or from Spain or whatever, I take any rating with a grain of salt because you just don't know. There's no telling. I think LeBron, when he came into the league in 2003, now his was worse because he was from high school. He didn't even play D1. He was like a 69 or something like that. I mean, it just depends. He was Rookie of the Year. Carmelo was really good that year too, but at least Carmelo had the stint at Syracuse. So it's just one of those things where you got to figure out pretty much what you think. It's just a shot in the dark. 79 feels honestly generous to me. I would have guessed somewhere in the neighborhood of 74, 75, but that's encouraging. Maybe they know something. I mean, he did play when he was, 17 against the Oklahoma City Thunder. Granted, it was a scrimmage before the season started, but he did play, and he lit them up. Like, he gave them problems. So I do like that rating, and it is interesting to see how they shape this stuff up every time. Gle, what's up? What do I think Dennis Smith Jr.'s rating should be? Has his been announced yet? I'm not clear if his has been announced yet, but if it has been announced, I would say he's probably somewhere in that same range, honestly. I would say somewhere in that high 70, at best 81, maybe. Any, my co-host, is really the better guy of the two of us as far as this kind of setup. He's the 2K guy. I play the hell out of video games, but I'm admittedly a little out of the loop on following NBA 2K, and to a lesser extent out of the loop on even Madden. I don't put a lot of stock in that stuff because it seems crazy to me. I've seen all the storylines or not storylines, but I've seen all the stories coming out regarding the ratings of some of these guys, and while I do like that they don't give anyone like a 99 anymore. You know, LeBron used to get like 99, and it's like, okay, really? A 99 is supposed to be the ultimate creative player. Like, it's not even an obtainable goal. They've scaled it back a little bit, but some of their ratings are a little sketch, I think. What was Anthony Davis? He was like a 93. I thought that was slightly low. I would have said like 95, 96. But if you got like LeBron at a 97, I'll tell you who's high. And not in the fun way either. Kawhi Leonard, man, his rating, I think he was still in like a 91, 92. He was still way up there for a guy who hadn't played but 9 games in the last year. Like, I thought that was crazy. Like, wow, you're just making all kinds of assumptions here that he's still that dude. He might still be that dude, but he's got to show out. He's got to prove he's that dude. So, I don't know. Interesting thing there. We signed the GOAT Salah Mejri, says Gle. Yeah, man, we did that a little while back. Or did it like just officially sign finally? Like the paperwork finally got signed. Yeah, Salah Mejri, nice hustle off the bench. Hopefully he's your third center. I don't know. He'll probably get some decent minutes early on, but we'll see. KD making an ass out of himself lately, like more than usual. Yeah, but I know my camera was lagging. I don't know if you guys got a chance to see the shirt I'm wearing. It's a... I realize I'm like holding it up as if I'm still on camera. I'm not. It's a Oklahoma City Thunder shirt, blue lightning bolt. The O is the jersey number 0, and it says loyalty across the chest. That's my second team, and yeah, KD, man, he's always on some level to me going to be a snake, not for leaving, but for going where he went. That just seems like an ultimate bitch move to me personally. But, you know, to each his own. He made his choice, and God knows he's doubled down again and again and again and again. And he just seems set on pretty much turning the whole world against him for whatever reason. And as a result of that, he's saying crazy stuff. He's bickering with fans on Twitter and Instagram. He's posting about how the Kevin Durant in Oklahoma City was a phony. That was just him trying to like play the part or trying to be the nice guy or something like that. And this him is the real him. Well, the real you's an asshole. I know you don't care, obviously, but it is still a disappointment because for him, man, he was like the son of the state, son of Oklahoma, pretty much. He was accepted as his own, even though he was a Texas guy in college. And everyone considered him to be like the embodiment, basically, of what the state was. Just, you know, he didn't go out and do a whole lot of crazy stuff. He didn't go out partying, didn't get in trouble. Just seemed like a humble kid who just worked hard and was, you know, really talented. And then he stabbed him in the back. And then he just kept talking and talking and talking and talking. And now he's just gone full WWE heel to the point where even LeBron James' heel form in Miami feels like, you know, a cupcake, if you'll pardon the phrase. It's very fitting for Durant. A cupcake in comparison to Durant's heel mode. If you were a phony in OKC, man, hey, you played the part well for 9 years. I'd say 8. The last year, it was notable that it was noticeable that you started being a little more standoffish with the media, and people were just kind of baffled by some of the things you were saying. But who knows, man? It is what it is. King Busy, KD wants to be the tough guy for some reason. Yeah, I think he is incredibly insecure. I think that's what it is. He knows that no one values his 2 titles and 2 finals MVPs the way that a lot of other titles are respected. Like, to be honest, I take LeBron's 2 in Miami, and I still say they weigh less than his 1 in Cleveland, even though he made Cleveland basically form a super team by going and trading their 2 number 1s that they had. Wiggins and what was the other one? Bennett was in on that deal too. God, that guy was a bust. But making them trade for Kevin Love, essentially, that was interesting. But I still think getting that 1 for Cleveland and breaking his back basically the last 4 years for them, even though he only got them over the hump once, he still did it. That 1 outweighs the 2 in Miami. And KD, I think, is feeling insecure. He knows no one is giving him the credit and respect he feels he deserves. At least, I don't want to say no one, but a lot of people aren't. And, man, KD could win 3-4 more titles in a row, and I'm still going to sit here and say I'll take Dirk's 1 over that. In terms of, like, commendability, honorability, and all that. And I get it. It's a business, right? They don't give a crap what I have to say about it, but I don't put much stock in how KD did it because he took the ultimate easy way out. And I don't know. I've seen ESPN trying to kick up some storylines lately saying, oh, I could see him really taking a hard look at coming back to OKC after this year. And I'm just like, man, I don't even think I want him back. And I'm totally honest when I say that. If he came back to Oklahoma City, I don't think I could cheer him. Now, if they win, cool, great. He gets to try and have his feel-good moment, I guess, if somehow he comes back and they win a title. But my vouching for him and saying like that he's got my full respect and that's my dude, that's gone. I mean, I remember thinking at one point when he was still kind of putting on that whole humble facade thing, I remember thinking that, like, man, you know, it's great because eventually when Dirk's gone, when he's retired, you know, I'll still have KD, this humble kid who's phenomenally talented. And that was just kind of how I viewed it. And now I look at it and it's like, oh, man, I can't enjoy that because KD turned out to be an asshole. But It is what it is, man. Cam Hicks, I don't understand professional athletes constantly defending themselves on social media. You're at the pinnacle of your craft making millions. Sit back and enjoy. All the media stuff is just a troll. I absolutely agree with that, Cam. I absolutely agree with that. It's just... Dirk even commented on this the other day when he was on the, what was it, Dan Patrick show? He was asked about the KD responding to Instagram stuff and all that, and Dirk's like, dude, you're not supposed to say anything, you know? Roll with it if you do. I have people troll me all the time saying I'm old as hell, that I'm a dinosaur, that I'm whack, you know, all that. Like, it's just, you just laugh about it and let it roll off. Have fun with it even. You know, like, I don't know, KD is so triggered by everything that he'll respond to like a random guy on Instagram's post, a nobody, who says that he considers like KD the 5th or 6th best player in the league. He'll respond, and then when the guy's like, why do you care so much? KD's like, I don't care. You clearly cared enough to respond. Like, it's one or the other. If you didn't care, you would have moved on. Because that guy had no audience. He had no audience until you put his message and his post on a platform. So it's one of those weird things to me where it's like, man, just ignore it. Let it roll off. Or continue being, you know, you do you. Whatever. If that's how you want to roll with it. Do you. Cam, Dirk 1 title is better than KD 5 titles. I agree. Dirty Old Man 66 Gaming. That is a hell of a channel. You do gaming content, I assume. Let's play stuff, I'm guessing, or is it game reviews? I haven't seen your channel before, but I'll definitely check it out. Dirk is a being bred. He's loyal. Yes. Dirk is as loyal gets, and that is seriously commendable. Like it's a unheard of breed at this point. And I don't think, if Dirk had never won his title in Dallas, then yeah, I think he probably would have been tempted to leave, but even then I question if he would have. The fact that he got the title, it totally changed his mindset, where he was like, okay, you know, I still want to be relevant, I still want to compete, but Dallas is home. I mean, he's so entrenched in Dallas at this point, I don't even know that he would go back to Germany, it sounds like, when he retires. He might just stay here. I mean, think about it, he's been here for 21 years in the city. So, the guy's 40, that's over half his life here. You know, that's crazy to think about. I guess I can't add 21 onto that because he hasn't played the season just yet. So whatever, half his life here, 20 years here out of 40. But yeah, it's crazy. That dude won. Although these guys, athletes, and rich and famous, they are regular people, no different than any other people. Accept it and enjoy watching. Yeah, no, they're absolutely regular people. That doesn't mean that they should be bogged down in the same kind of thing. Like, at some point, like, if I'm someone who's got a huge base, right? If I'm someone who's got millions of fans, we'll get to that later, hopefully, in the future. But if I've got millions of fans and I do whatever I do, but someone else comes in, and let's say it's a guy with like 30 followers, and he runs his mouth about me on Instagram or YouTube or whatever, do I care? Like, should I care? I don't think so. It's kind of like one of those things where it's like, anyone can have an opinion, anyone can give their thoughts and analysis, but it's something that, unless you're familiar with it, whether through means of, you know, having been there yourself or having studied and analyzed the game, followed all these close sources and all of that over several years, unless it's something like that where you're a borderline insider or you've done it yourself, a guy saying something that shouldn't matter to him. Like, if he says he doesn't care about, like, Charles Barkley or Shaq or someone like that saying something about him. Why should he care about a random Joe Schmo on Instagram saying he's not the best player in the world? Like, he's got the platform, but I just don't get it. Like, he might not like seeing it. No one likes seeing it, but let it roll off your shoulders. Do what Dirk does. Cowboy X Factor, what's up? I think Cuban, Dirty Old Man Gaming 66 Gaming, excuse me. I think Cuban will have the front office job for Dirk after he retires. He could. I don't know when that'll happen, but I don't know. I don't know what Dirk's post-career scenario looks like. He's got 2 very young kids now, and I think he stays in Dallas. I think he stays tied to the Mavericks in some capacity, but honestly, I don't know what capacity. Maybe he's on in some, maybe Cuban creates some kind of front office position for him, or maybe he's some kind of, I just realized I got the graphic up there saying Big Game James is on the phone. My bad, guys. Let me take that down. Fade. There we go. No Big Game James. Sorry for the mislead. Yeah. He might create a position, but I don't know what Dirk's going to be. Some kind of consultant at the very least. Coops11. What up, DDP? What up, Coop? Yeah, if you guys haven't seen, as of today, the channel, The Dallas Prospect, has officially been monetized by YouTube. So there will be the occasional ads here and there. I'll try and keep those to a minimum, but that'll open up some ad revenue for the channel. And hey, if you guys love me, if you want to support the channel, the page, the site, whatever, now you can hit up Super Chat. That's officially a thing. So I'm really excited about this. It's funny, I hit 1,000 subscribers like a month and a half ago, and you have to apply for monetization with YouTube. And so once you hit 1,000, you fill out this thing and you apply. And their thing even says, this typically takes 1 week. I was like, okay, cool, 1 week. I can wait. And it took about a month and a half. And even then, I didn't get notified that I was approved. I just suddenly was going through the settings and was like, oh, hey, it says I can do this now. Okay, click it. And it's like, oh, now you tell me I'm approved. Great. I kind of expected some sort of email, but whatever. We're going along now, so I'm excited. This is the first open source of any kind of revenue related to the site that I've been able to open up. It's a one-man operation that I run, and I'm just kind of building out this network and trying to grow this thing from the ground up. So we'll see. Let's see. Oh, and I think I set it up where whether someone subscribes, if someone subscribes while we're on air, or someone donates Super Chat or whatever, it should, let me see here, it should actually give some kind of notification on the screen acknowledging that. Let me see, yeah, it'll give them a shout out automatically. It should, and it should drop some kind of sound effect, probably one that sounds something like, see if I can find it. Apparently, oh, here it is.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so it'll sound like that whenever someone subs or donates or something. Actually, I don't know what the donation one sounds like. It might be a different drop. Regardless, that's an option now on the table. That dude won. You'll get there. Oh, thanks, man. We'll see. We'll keep growing this and see where it can go. This is a different flavor of stream. I know it's really informal. It's basically just an open forum with you guys, but I like talking general sports too, so if it's something I have, knowledge on, anything I can actually speak, intelligently to, whether it be college football, Texas Rangers a little bit, and I stress a little bit, even Dallas Stars, general NBA, I could talk Thunder and some Western Conference stuff. I'm open, man. If you got questions, hit me with them, and we'll do this. If you guys like it, we'll make this a weekly or bi-weekly thing where it's just open forum, kind of a borderline, I don't want to say AMA, Reddit style AMA, but we'll see about that in the future. Julian Smith, I guarantee you that Jason Garrett will get fired by Stephen Jones, who's not patient, and the three candidates will be Sean Payton, Chris Richard, or David Shaw from Stanford University. That's an interesting input, Julian. I could see something happening with Garrett if they don't make the playoffs. On one hand, he's so protected at this point that it almost feels like there is nothing he could do to make him fall off. Shout out Eric Anthony and Virginia's finest. It feels like there's almost nothing he could do to cost him his job at this point, but man, the guy's been here for over a decade in some capacity. Like, offensive coordinator, head coach, interim head coach, whatever. We've been through it with Garrett, and he's gotten better, but that's not to say that he's an advantage for us. And so I have to think if Dallas were to miss the playoffs, he probably does get fired finally, because they made every excuse in the book last offseason. They fired all the coaches except for the head coach and the coaching staff, or the offensive and defensive coordinator. So now you don't have that crutch anymore. Maybe they chop one more time at the coordinators and keep Garrett in place, but I have to think that ice under his feet is starting to crack if he doesn't get the team to the at least NFC Championship game. But we'll see. Chris Richard, I love his energy. I would actually be intrigued by him for sure. What was the other one? Sean Payton. I have a hard time seeing Sean Payton leaving New Orleans, honestly. I think there was a window where that was possible, but I think that's kind of past now. And David Shaw, I'd have to take a better look at him, honestly. I'm not super familiar with Stanford. I mean, I've watched them play. They've been relevant in recent years, of course, but I haven't looked at him as a coach yet, so I'd have to look at that one to be able to offer an analysis there. But yeah, so speaking of Cowboys training camp and everything, I like a lot what I'm seeing out of this young defensive line. It sounds like Jihad Ward is having a really good camp. I think he could maybe be a good replacement. Now, he was part of that Ryan Switzer trade that surprised a lot of people, but I think even though I was sad to see Switz go, I think he answers a bigger need for Dallas than Switz would at that point. Because imagine if we had another receiver we had to figure out what to do with in this offense. We have so many receivers that are of that, kind of smaller size, who can play inside a little bit, and he's played a little bit outside, but not a lot. So you got a lot of that already, whereas defensive tackle was a glaring need that they weren't able to address high in the draft like they were kind of wanting to. Therefore, I think it's a good swap, and I think Jihad Ward is having a really strong camp so far. So I would not be surprised if he makes some noise this year. Eric Anthony, do you guys play NBA 2K? My co-host, Eni Nduka, he absolutely does. My co-host on Mavs Fast Break. He's on here usually with me every Sunday, or most Sundays at least. But yeah, he plays the hell out of it. I honestly do not play NBA 2K these days. I don't even play a lot of Madden these games. A lot more of my interest. I do like gaming, but a lot of my interest is more so in action-driven games. Not so much first-person shooters, although sometimes. It just depends for me. I kind of like the gaming experience. I actually do with a buddy of mine some Let's Play stuff of our own called Game Drakes, but that's been more retro gaming so far. That's kind of his operation that he runs so much, and I just kind of chime in and like, hey, I had some time, and so I streamed this on Twitch or whatever for you, and we just roll with that. So if you guys want to see me playing games, Let's Play and all that, Game Drakes, that's your source. Or if you really want to look at some horrible, god-awful Let's Play before I had any idea what the hell I was doing, look up Project Shanks Gaming, and that was an experience. Some of those were nothing short of rage-inducing. Anyway, back into the comments here. Glad, how many minutes do you think Ray Spalding and Max Kleber get? It's really hard to project that out. I am a bigger fan of Spalding than Kleber, although Kleber wasn't bad by any means last year. Figuring out minutes. I'm going to say Kleber early on gets more burn. Probably somewhere in the, what did he have last year? Like somewhere in the neighborhood of 14 to 18, depending on the situation, the game. Let me try and pull up his stats here. But while I do that, I can basically say that I think Spalding was... I think the Mavs had a great draft. And that is the first time in my lifetime I can think of saying they had a great, complete draft. That said, I think that the steal of the draft for them, between where they got him and what he can do for them, was probably getting Ray Spalding at 56. I am very much so a fan of everything I've seen from him. So let's see. Kleber had 16.8 minutes per game last year. So I could see something for him. Maybe a slight reduction just because now you're going to also have to factor in like a Ray Spalding some minutes. Spalding will probably be sub 10 early on, but as the season goes on, assuming he doesn't hit a rookie wall, which is entirely possible, by the way, he could take a step forward and get something in that neighborhood of 15, 16 minutes a game. Depending on injury situation, he might play 25 minutes a game. It just depends. If Dirk's out with a knee, an ankle, whatever, then you're going to get to see a lot more of those guys. Julian, I don't know what your message said. You retracted it. Let's see. Dirk should run for mayor. He could probably get some votes. He probably could. But, yeah, I don't know. I don't think Dirk has any political aspirations, thankfully. But, yeah, interesting for sure. It'd make a good, funny publicity stunt. I'm surprised Mark Cuban hasn't already had the Mavs media office do something to that effect. They always have those great videos at the game. Their creative team is fantastic. I actually, for some time, wanted to be hired there, working with the Mavericks creative department, because I was doing somewhat similar video animation type stuff like that, and I think they're top notch. I think they're really funny, and they give a lot of creative freedom. So, very cool, very cool. I like the stuff they do. Cowboys D gonna shock some teams this year. I think so. I think this is a very improved defense that is somehow flying a little under the radar. The secondary is much better, in my opinion. They were a bunch of young guys last year. By the end of last year, they were playing well. Now they're going to be a year better, a year older. They've been in the system a year and everything. Now they have Chris Richard coming in, and I think what he brings to the table is just next level for what he's able to do for them. What the word is, what he's doing with Byron Jones and with Cheeto and Camp, like, he is turning them into completely different players in a good way. Like, especially Byron Jones, who's been kind of lost in the shuffle the last couple of years, not really playing to his strengths and all of that. Byron Jones has been I was going to say supposedly, but he has been by many accounts the standout of the secondary for training camp. Maybe even training camp altogether, not even just the secondary. And I think that Chris Richard and the style that he coaches and how he has them, defending and all of that, it works best with what Byron's physical skill set is. So it's the right dude at the right time, and I think it could change the course of his career for the better, which is great because he's been caught in limbo the last 2 years. I think he is one of the most underappreciated guys on the roster, next to maybe Jeff Heath. Jeff Heath doesn't get a lot of love, but to be honest, I think Jeff Heath has done a little more to deserve some of the scorn than Byron, although Heath does have the clutch factor to him. So that is an interesting toss-up, actually. It might have been Julian's question that got retracted, which receiver I was eager to see. I want me some Michael Gallup. I want to see what Michael Gallup's got. I think Michael Gallup, I said when they picked him that by the end of the year, I thought he would be the #1 receiver on this team. And he's had dazzling highs in camp, and he's had some days that weren't so high. He's had days where he had a couple drops here and there. But then he's had days where he's made spectacular catches. He's not blaze by you fast, but he is a very nuanced route runner, a wide route tree, numerous routes on his route tree. And he's crisp, man. He's got good, strong hands. He's building a rapport with Dak. Dak clearly is going to him, and he likes what he sees. They're building a rapport, and that's great because that's what you need. Dak is an inside-out quarterback. His vision, and again, I said this on the show last night, I am by no means saying that they are one and the same, only in their style and how they analyze the field. They look inside, out. Dak is like that, where he looks in the slot, and then he looks at tight end, so you get those underneath routes in the tight end, and then he'll look to the outsides. Same as what Tom Brady does. With the exception of the 2.5 years that Randy Moss was in New England, Tom Brady never had an elite receiver. The best receivers and biggest playmakers for New England typically are the undersized receivers and Gronk, the tight end, and guys like Wes Welker, guys like Danny Amendola, Danny Woodhead. I know he was more of a running back, but same idea, a guy that could kind of spread out there a little bit. But yeah, I mean, that's what it boils down to. And I think that is, I think that the Cowboys receiving core has gotten extremely versatile. They are fast as a whole. They are fast. They're not big. The biggest guys are both 6'1", Hearns and Gallup. But I do think that they are versatile enough, and I think they have enough possession receivers that they can keep chains moving when it matters. Now, the difference between like them and what Philadelphia had last year is Philadelphia still had the jump ball guy in Alshon Jeffrey. That's the one thing I think Dallas is missing. So I don't know how it'll translate, but it'll be interesting to see. I want to see Gallup. I am curious to see how Hearns does. Let's see. Oh, that was Lindell's question I answered there. Okay. Jalen looking strong after he took the boot off his foot. Yeah, so it wasn't a boot actually that he had. It was a brace and, what is it? AFO? Some kind of orthotic that he had on there, and it's helped him strengthen his ankle. It's kind of like when I played basketball all through high school and all of that, I wore ankle braces all the time. It was just, that's what you're told to do. You go out there and you're playing, you have ankle braces, protect yourself. But then when I found after high school, when I go to play pickup basketball, well, if I'm just going to play pickup basketball, I'm not going to put on ankle braces if I'm just, going to the community gym or whatever. So I didn't do that. And you know what happened? I sprained my ankles all the damn time. They protect you. A brace can protect you, but it also prevents your muscles from building up strength and from stabilizing themselves. And so in his case, it sounds like he worked throughout the offseason rebuilding some of the strength in that ankle foot area, and that's made a difference. There's still a little get up in his step, but not near as much as last year. When he's going downhill, he's a force of nature. And he's been working on pass rushing with Leon Lett after practice all week, I heard. At least 20 minutes after practice every day, and I love that. I'm curious to see when he has to go in space and when he has to go side to side. That's what I'm curious about. I have no doubt he'll be better. I just want to see if he can be anything like that Notre Dame guy. He says physically he feels like he's just about there. I don't know about that, but I'm hopeful he can get at least into that neighborhood. Maybe not the generational talent, but at least be a beast. Let's see. Eric Anthony, the Mavs creative team is legit AF. They absolutely are, man. And yeah, I love watching their stuff anytime it comes out. Cam Hicks, what do you think of as the Cowboy? Oh, what do you think of the Cowboys receiving core? Kind of like I was saying before, they got a bunch of guys who are versatile. I think that was the key word. They wanted to get faster, and they wanted a bunch of guys who were versatile, who could line up inside, who could line up outside. They've been lining up plays in camp with Cole Beasley on the outside, and then on the other opposite side, also outside, Tavon Austin. That's your two smallest receivers lined out wide. That tells me they're looking to get creative. They've moved Hearns inside. They've moved Hearns outside. They've moved him all around. And, Gallup can run from several spots too. So it looks like the key word here is they want to keep you guessing. Because you have so many guys who can run so many different routes. And because of how justly criticized the offensive play calling was last year, they have changed their philosophy. They're going to go instead where you might still see more of that intermediate style passing game for the most part, unless something breaks for them. But they're going to have guys who you're not going to know what you're going to get, because you're going to have Cole Beasley moving all over the field. You're going to have Tavon Austin literally moving all over the field because he still could run out of the backfield sometimes. And you'll have Michael Gallup, who, let's be honest, not a lot of teams know a lot about him right now, and he's turning heads. I've seen multiple articles this week talking about how not only could he be the next great receiver for Dallas, but that he could take the starting job before the season starts. Now that, receiver one, I don't know about that. I think it'll still be something where he catches fire late in the year. I've seen some people put his estimates out there, like their predictions for him, and I feel like they're way too bold. But they're putting estimates out there of saying something in the neighborhood of 800 plus yards and 6 touchdowns, and I'm like, ooh, I would absolutely love that for Michael Gallup. But given that Dak is more of an inside-out read quarterback, I bet you Beasley or Hearns is probably the number one receiver. And I understand that saying that they're the number one receiver doesn't necessarily mean that you can't have Michael Gallup getting 800 plus yards. I just think that it'll take time for Gallup to get there, and I think he'll catch fire late. Maybe he gets to 600, maybe he gets to 700. That'd be phenomenal. I would be happy with that. But we'll see, man. I'm telling you, in the future, look out for him to break out. But for now, let's just enjoy the ride and see what the kids got. I wonder if my internet speed would do better if I brought the camera back. What do you guys think? Should I bring the camera back or attempt to? See my lovely smiling face? Man, I am so behind on the Cowboys. Had no cable last year and saw maybe one game. Is this season's team a playoff contender? I think so. I do. Their schedule isn't a pushover by any means, but they were 9-7 last year. Had it not been for Zeke's 6-game suspension, which I think triggered the collapse of the offense, that and Tyron Smith's injury. The second half of the year, the final 8 games, the Cowboys had Zeke and Tyron on the field together for a grand total of 3 plays. Dak absolutely collapsed in the second half of the year. But, man, you take away his all-pro left tackle, you take away his Pro Bowl running back, dude, you're going to be hard-pressed to do something. It's suddenly all on you. And that you saw Dak after Atlanta get shaken. He wasn't comfortable. He didn't trust his protection. He was happy feet in the pocket. He was throwing balls early or overthrowing or whatever. He came unglued. And, they go 9-7. They collapsed after they lost Zeke. I think if they had Zeke, they win 2 more of those games. I think they're 11-5 last year and make the playoffs if he's there. But that's not what happened. And I think this year, if we don't have David Irving the first 4 games, that hurts. I've actually heard whispers that they might not have him at all this year, that they are concerned that he might not be fit to return to the team at all this year. That would be devastating, but aside from that, we don't know. That's all speculation right now. And aside from that, other than that, every other sign seems to indicate that we will have everyone else. So if we got everyone else, I think this is a playoff team. I've said for a while, I think this is a 10-6 team. I don't think that they win the East. They could. I would be very happy if they did, obviously. But I think this is a 10-6 team, and I'll do a better evaluation on that at the end of training camp, and I think we'll all do that. But we'll see when we get there. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question, Eric. Dirty Old Man 66 Gaming. You think Earl is the missing piece, and if so, should we trade him or sign him free agent next year? So interesting there. I think Earl Thomas does make this team significantly better. And that's with saying that Jeff Heath has had a very good camp, that Xavier Woods has had a very good camp, That doesn't mean that they're better than Earl Thomas, though. But here's the thing. I am so drawn out on the talk of will we, won't we regarding Earl Thomas. I've kind of just disregarded it at this point. I view it as until news is breaking that it at least appears likely, I'm not going to get, my hopes or expectations up on it, because Earl wants an extension. If they give him an extension in Seattle, he stays. He's happy. He just wants to be paid as the best paid safety in the league, which is not a cheap contract. It means you have to pass Kansas City's Eric Berry, I believe. So that'll be pricey. I think he's worth it. And I think if you're the Cowboys, your best window financially for winning a Super Bowl is when Dak is still on his rookie deal, which means you got pretty much 2 years, this year and next year. Earl could give you the best shot of the Super Bowl now. However, one thing of interest that I heard from Brian Broaddus recently, just in the last couple days, was that if you asked him right now, which is a bigger impact to the Cowboys, acquiring Earl Thomas or getting a solid defensive tackle, he answers defensive tackle, because he does say that he really likes what he's seeing out of the safeties. Xavier Woods, man, the X-Man, he is going to be you're gonna know him. Like, if you don't already know Xavier Woods, you're gonna know him. He's going to be good. I was jumping out of my seat when they got him in the 6th round. I couldn't believe he had fallen that far. He was an absolute steal. They were going to draft him in the 4th round, and they ended up taking Ryan Switzer instead. And then when they found out at the top of the 6th round he hadn't been picked, they traded up then to get him, because they're like, he's not going to fall any further. We need to do this now. And I think he is absolutely a game changer for them. But you got to give him a little time to develop. He played at Louisiana Tech. He was a 4-year starter. Dude's got something. He's a very instinctive player, and I like that. But I think Heath is fine getting snaps. If you had Earl Thomas, he would obviously, get the nod as far as starter, obviously. But I don't know. Would I pursue him free agency next year? I'd probably take a look. Absolutely. I mean, if Woods balls out, maybe reevaluate then. What I like is the chip Woods is playing with on his shoulder. He's been saying this whole time throughout all of this that I don't care if the Cowboys are, rumored to be interested in Earl Thomas and all that. My job is to make them forget about Earl Thomas. I like that chip on the shoulder, and he's been balling out in camp, so what's not to like? I think he's the future as far as the back end of the secondary is concerned. Let's see. Someone else hit up some questions in chat. Oh yeah, also a update for anyone who watches the Sunday stream I do for the Mavericks, Mavs Fast Break. That is still scheduled for Sunday. However, it will probably be later in the evening this week. I am booked solid for Sunday. I'm going to be meeting with the guys from the Sports Fury. They're based out of Dallas too. They do all kinds of streaming. Everything from NBA, NFL, college football, World Cup, WWE. If it's sports related in any capacity, they're streaming and talking on it. And they want to bring me in for some collaboration stuff regarding some wrestling stuff. I was a huge wrestling fan from 97 till 2006. I'm still a casual fan. I watched the pay-per-views through the WWE Network. And yeah, they're interested in working with me. I don't know how many of you saw the finals prediction video I did for Phantom, a couple months back before the finals started. But because Phantom, run by Ari Timken, he always likes to say that Phantom is the new world order of sports journalism. Well, I pointed out to him, because he's using the phrase new world order, that he might as well just go ahead and get the old WCW t-shirts, NWO. He loved the idea. He got the shirt. He started wearing it. And so when he asked me to do the stream, I was like, well, MFer, I've got that shirt. I'm going to dig that shirt out of the closet. And I think he showed some of the stuff and like private videos, kind of some of people's entries and all that. And I watched them and I was like, all right, well, these are all pretty vanilla. This is like, and I'm not going to name any specific names, but it's like, yo, this is so-and-so, or yo, this is your boy so-and-so from whatever channel or page. And I'm taking the Cavs in 4 because the king is the king, and things of that nature. And I was just like, that's not a lot of personality, though. That feels kind of milquetoast vanilla to me. I wanted to put some flair on it. So what I decided to do instead was go in and do the whole thing NWO style. I leaned into it. I wore the shirt. I did the black and white filter. I tried my worst awful Hulk Hogan impersonation. And the video is up there on the Dallas Prospect channel. It's actually the long cut of it too. And I did the whole thing. I did the NWO video effects over the top and everything of it. And God knows I stripped my vocal cords for like a day and a half after that. But I think it turned out really well. And so when that found its way into the compilation, I had a bunch of guys from Phantom, who also work with Phantom, reached out to me, and among them was the Sports Fury, who absolutely loved it. So I'm going to be doing a collaboration thing with them most of the day Sunday, and then I'm actually meeting. I have another project. I can't say what it is yet, but I'm working on another project for the channel, and this is a really, really cool thing for it. I'm super stoked about it. It's just as I work to create this, I want to basically keep it as under wraps as I can. But when it's ready, I will unleash it for the world, and you guys will hopefully dig it because it's going to be around. So we'll see, but I won't say anything more on that. But yeah, I'll probably be busy Sunday until 6 o'clock, I would say. 6 or so, and at that point I'll probably do Mavs Fast Break then. I'll put out a reminder on Facebook and Instagram for anyone who's, interested. Let me see here. What do you think Dak's ceiling is? I'm thinking Russell Wilson. Whew, Russell Wilson has a ceiling. I don't think he's Russell Wilson, but I do think that, man, a comp for Dak. I think Dak can be a really good quarterback. He's not a bus driver. He's an opportune playmaker, but he's not a guy that you can put the whole thing on his back and expect him to carry you to wins. He's not an Aaron Rodgers, a Drew Brees, not even a Tony Romo in that regard. But he is an opportunistic playmaker. That's why he was offensive rookie of the year last year. Or not last year, 2 years ago, 2016. And he distracting me with a text message. But yeah, he's an opportunistic playmaker. And if he's got a run game and he's got receivers getting open, he'll do something. But Russell Wilson, that feels high to me. I don't know a good comp for what I would say his ceiling is. That might be a better question for Law, honestly. Law or Big Game James. Dak said he's not looking to break the bank and understands the team needs the money to make them better. Yeah, and that's huge because speaking of Russell Wilson, I think a big part of what led to the kind of premature demolition of the Legion of Boom, maybe not Legion of Boom, let's just say the defense as a whole, not specifically the Legion of Boom secondary. A big part of what led that to kind of wind down was Russell Wilson got paid. They won a Super Bowl with him on a rookie contract. They went back and should have won another one with him still on a rookie contract. And then it was that first year, I think it was the year after that second Super Bowl appearance, that he got paid. And when he's making, what is it? Like, I'll look it up. But he's making a lot of money. And it's something that it makes it harder for the team to hold on to other critical players. So what do you have to do? You just have to keep drafting young. You pick 2 or 3 guys you can afford to pay, and you got to keep the cycle going. And eventually teams will struggle with that. It's going to impact what they're able to do. Russell Wilson's contract is 4-year, $87.6 million. So yeah, let's see. His base salary this year goes up to $15 million. Last year, it actually wasn't that big of a hit. It was only 6, but 2016 was $12 million plus. So a little all over the place, but comparatively speaking, in 2015 he made $700,000. So to then go to $12 million now this year, again he's $15 million. Next year he's $17 million. Yeah, that money tied up in him complicates things for them regarding some other positions. And so if Dak understands that, if Dak's willing to say, hey, I'll kind of step back and won't make the team break bank to keep me, that's great. That's great, but we got to see what it works out to. Shout out to Any and Duca on Facebook and Jerry Decker. Guys, sorry if I didn't see your comments earlier. If you guys, anyone listening, if you're on Silver and Blue, Law Nation, Phantom, wherever, jump into either the Dallas Prospect YouTube or Facebook if you want me to see your comments, because those are the two I got pulled up in front of me, and I can't have 12 chats open in front of me. So, Jerry, let me answer your question here. You think Dallas Cowboys and Dallas Mavs, will they make the playoffs this year? Mavericks, no, I don't think the Mavericks are a playoff team just yet. I think the West is incredibly stacked. Mavericks were, 13th team in the West last year? And I would say that one team that was behind them, one of the few, Phoenix, I think Phoenix got, frankly, better than the Mavericks. If any team has a claim to fame for having a better draft than the Mavericks, it would be Phoenix, in my opinion. And they already had Booker, and that's an incredible piece to have on your team. And now that he's locked down, they'll be able to do some stuff. So, yeah, I think the Mavericks could be anywhere from 11 to 8, and yes, obviously 8 puts them in the playoffs, but to me, 8 is if everything breaks right. If Dennis Smith Jr. takes that next step, if Luka Doncic shows that, hey, I am that guy that you heard about, and if DeAndre Jordan does what he's, last year DeAndre wasn't actually as good of a rim protector as he had been in previous years. He averaged, I think under 1 block a game, which was strange for him, because 2015 when they tried to get him, he was 2.4 or something. So hopefully he can be a rim protector for them, but he did gobble up rebounds still last year at an incredible rate, 12 or 15 boards. I know that's a big difference at that point, but I want to say it was 15, but as I say that does sound slightly high by recollection. So regardless, if he can give them those two things they need, rebounding and rim protection, and those other things also break right, and Dirk can still be efficient, kind of like he was last year, maybe things break right and they can squeak into that playoff spot, but then it's just playing for the honor of being swept by the Warriors. Or I think the Rockets took a big step back, frankly. I know that your question was on the Mavs, but I think the Rockets took a step back, losing Trevor Ariza, by the way, to Phoenix. That's a big loss. Losing Baumute, that's a big loss. And to add Carmelo Anthony, that's a big loss. So I think Houston's taking a step back, but we'll see. Warriors, man, freaking Boogie Cousins on that team. I know he's coming off the Achilles, but they don't need him, period, until the playoffs. So if he comes back in any capacity there, it'll be interesting to see. Paul H., you underestimate our Mavs and our coaching staff. I think there's no doubt. I like the end of that too. I think we get the 8th spot, but then we're out in the first round. Yeah, I'd be thrilled. I would honestly be thrilled if I was wrong on that and they could make it to the playoffs. It'd be refreshing. We haven't been there in a little while. It's been a minute. I think the world of Rick Carlisle as a coach. I think he's a fantastic coach. I would say probably the 3rd best coach, or arguably 2nd in the league. I'd say Popovich and Brad Stevens are the only two I would possibly put in front of him right now. Popovich definitely, Brad Stevens maybe. But even still, you got to look at all the pieces that you're given, and I think Dallas lacks shooters. I do. I like the signing of Ryan Broekhoff a lot, but I hate the loss of Seth Curry. I hate that. And for him to leave for as little money as he did drives me insane. But we'll see how it goes. Stash 829. Ha 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 ha. I strung that out to make more laughs and to make it seem much snarkier and sarcastic than it probably was intended. Let us see. We'll be fine. We're totally healthy, and Jerry keeps his mouth shut. Pivoting back to Cowboys. Yeah, I think so. I think that the Cowboys will be good this year. I do. I think that the defense will be significantly better, and that even if the offense isn't what we're used to seeing, it's still going to be built around the run game, and I think the offensive line got significantly better this year with the drafting of Connor Williams, who was a first-round talent and who gave up all of 1 sack in college. D, not Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr, that's another phenomenal fill in there. He could challenge for that, certainly, but it also helps when you've already got all those pieces that he has. I don't know that I've seen Kerr with a scraps team like Carlisle's had to deal with post-title a lot of years. So, yeah, I know he had to take them to that first title, but he took them there in the first year, which means it was a team essentially built by Mark Jackson and all of that. But I don't know. I do think he's a very good coach. I'd say he's top 5. I don't know if I put him necessarily ahead of Carlisle, but he's got the skins on the wall, so that's a debatable one for sure. I see Annie really liked that Carmelo to Rockets. That's a big loss line. That's great. I was feeling that one too. I really leaned into it. Let's see. Michael Gallup's comp. Miles Austin. So you're thinking Miles Austin is the Gallup comp. Miles Austin was a burner. Miles Austin had speed. He was a kickoff guy for them in that disastrous Romo playoff debut where he dropped the snap on the not the extra point, but the field goal. Miles Austin ran back a kickoff wearing the number 14, as Law and I discussed last night, for the Cowboys. And yeah, and then he was a blazing speed when he got in the open field for when he broke out initially after T.O. was gone. He broke out then. So Gallup doesn't have that speed, but I'm gonna have to look. I always struggle on comps in this case. I don't know why. It's something I always struggle with a little bit, but I think Gallup's gonna be very good. He's gonna be nuanced route runner. That's what I like. He's not a guy that'll blow past you, but he runs his routes so crisp and clean that he'll break himself open and create the space to make easy throws for the quarterback, easy passing lanes. So that'll help. Sometimes, there's 2 ways you can get open. You can rely on speed to blaze past a guy, or you can cross up your guy and keep him guessing. And I think Gallup's got the little nuances to how he runs his routes. It's not just that he knows how to run different routes. It's that he knows the little tricks and the ways to sell it and the way to keep the defender guessing. That's one of the things as you read through the guy's analyzing. What the hell am I saying? Analyzing his performance in training camp. They're specifically bringing up like these little moves he'll make, whether it's a shift of his weight on one foot or just a nod of the head that makes the defender think he's breaking the other way, and then he turns and goes opposite. It's things like that, just little nuanced things that create space, and that's a big part of why Dak keeps finding him and getting him the ball, and that's why he's making plays. So I think he'll be. I think he's the guy to watch out for. If I were to tell you one player in this rookie class to go buy a jersey of today, because you're going to want it and you're going to want to say, I was on that bandwagon at the very beginning, I would tell you, unless you want to have like a Connor Williams, because I think he's the best rookie in the class, but I would tell you Michael Gallup. Jerry can't keep his mouth shut. He's Al Davis in the NFC. Yeah, that's a fair comp. That's a fair comp for sure. I think Jerry's getting kind of pushed out of the picture a little bit more these days by Steven. Steven's kind of pushing Jerry off stage left, trying to shove him into a closet or something like that so he can do what he needs to do. The Cowboys' recent philosophy has been much more shrewd business, and I kind of like that. The Cowboys have a lot of cap money opening up after this year because we finally won't have dead cap money for this coming season, this next season. Not this one, the one after. And that's by no means. Now, Jerry, if you gave him the keys, he would run out and on day one of free agency make 2 big signings, and we would be back to having no cap room, and we'd have to go bargain shopping for everything again. I don't think Steven operates that way, but I do think that he will have a good head on his shoulders, so to speak, as far as the deals he's making. He's not afraid to pay some guys, but he'll be shrewd with how he does it. Steven, I don't think ever wanted to pay Dez that contract. That last contract Dez had. I don't think I don't think Steven ever wanted to give that to him. It went against his business model for the Cowboys. Look at what they did with DeMarco Murray that same offseason, for example. Instead, they swung big on it, even though they acknowledged at the time they were afraid that that was going to be the start of his dip-off point, his kind of decline. They ran with it, and we saw how that kind of worked out. Say what you want on that, and Lordy knows I'm not trying to dredge up the Dez Bryant debate argument thing again, but I think that you're going to see more shrewd business deals from Steven moving forward, and I think that the old break bank Jerry Jones philosophy is a thing of the past, so I'm curious to see what we do with all this cap money. Jacob Perkins, what's up? Mavs win the championship. Luka wins MVP, and they trade Mejri for Giannis. And 14 is not an odd number. It's even. All right, 14 is not an odd number. Yeah, you're calling back from last night's show. Law and I were trying to think of guys that wear number 14, the number 14 in basketball or football. And for some reason, we couldn't think of any. And as you lovely people in the comments let us know, guys like Stephon Diggs and Jarvis Landry exist. And I made the comment that 14 is a little bit of an odd number. Now, I meant weird or unusual. Jacob took that literally and decided that it meant an actual odd number versus an even number. Not what I meant, sir, and I will defend that to the death. But, yeah, if you're flipping Salah Mejri for Giannis, I'm on board. You can be GM if you can pull that off. Paul H., you think the Mavs will pick up better players next year? I do like the Wes Matthews and Jordan contracts off the books next year. Yes, Dallas is going to have big money open next year as well. That's not exclusive to the Cowboys having big money. The Mavericks are going to have even bigger money open up this next year. They're going to have the ability, I think it's somewhere in the neighborhood of $70 to $87 million is the range I've heard. Now, that's because everyone's going to be off the books except for Dennis Smith Jr., obviously on his rookie deal. Luka Doncic, obviously on his rookie deal. Harrison Barnes, who will probably take his player option, and he'll make something like $20 million, I'm sure. And then you'll have Dwight Powell. That's all you have under contract currently. So Dallas will have a ton of cap room. And I do think that they are going to have a real opportunity to bring in some people. And what's more, Dallas was never a big draw free agency-wise in the Dirk years. And I think part of that is because Dirk's game is not the stereotypical American game, right? It's not the raw athleticism and powerful dunks and amazing jaw-dropping highlights and all of that. Dirk is like butter. He's silky smooth. Butter and silky smooth. I'm mixing analogies, I feel, but both vibe and work, so we're gonna roll with it. So that's what Dirk's game is, and it never was the same free agency draw, even though it would have been it would have made a lot of sense if he had brought people in, because we saw what he was able to do for the careers of guys like Jason Terry and even Monte Ellis. Dirk is, in the best sense of the word, a black hole, where defenses get sucked into him because they can't leave him. That creates space for Jet to come around on a curl for a pull-up jumper, or for Monte Ellis to attack the rim. It just opens things up. And Dirk was never able to draw that, but with Dennis Smith Jr., we now have that foundational piece that has that jaw-dropping athleticism and powerful jams. He is, in effect, Russell Westbrook light in terms of his athleticism and his aggression with which he plays. And what's better, the whole league has already taken note of him and respects him. That will come in handy. So if Luka Doncic can be anything like the phenom player from the European leagues that we've heard about, look out. They will, mark my words, they will draw serious interest from some of the bigger fish that hit free agency. I don't know who, but teams are going to take note. I do really honestly think that with the cap they have, they can money whip one or two guys with max deals or close to, and bring them into Dallas, and suddenly we could be looking at a completely new foundation moving forward. Good question there. I'm here for the Mavs talk only. I'm a cheesehead, says Paul. Well, Paul, I'm happy you're here all the same. I answer the questions that come up on the board, so it's just a mix of everything right now. Jacob Perkins, since Ben Simmons won Rookie of the Year last season, what's the chance Dirk wins Rookie of the Year this season? Yeah, Ben Simmons got the Blake Griffin treatment where he missed his whole rookie year, so technically, even though he had been in the system and training and doing all that for a year, technically, it was his rookie season, but I kind of think it should have been Donovan Mitchell personally, but, you know, whatever. Eric Anthony, it would be fun to get back into the playoffs, even if we have to get smothered by Golden State. Absolutely. I miss playoff basketball in Dallas, frankly. We have not been very often in recent years. 2016, we went and got beaten 5 by the Thunder, still with KD at the time. Then didn't make it 2017, didn't make it again. So yeah, a couple of years now that have been just painful. 2 years ago, at least we made a push. I mean, in the last couple of weeks it fell apart, but we, after an abysmal start to the season a couple of years ago, they made a push and got back into the discussion where there were people who were actually like, oh my God, Rick Carlisle's really about to take a team that started out something like, I can't remember how bad they started. It was like 4-17 through the first 21 games or something. And they were like, just like in amazement, like, oh my God, Rick Carlisle's really going to take a team that started 4-17 and make the playoffs, isn't he? And it looked like it might happen, but I think they ran out of steam. That team 2 years ago was after, I think, mid-November, maybe the start of December. They were a different team. They were playing at about a 48-win pace the rest of the way until the final 2 weeks. And that's when, as I said before, wheels fell off. I had higher hopes last year, and that was foolish. I made some very dumb predictions. I predicted they would be in the contention for playoffs last year, and oh my God, was I wrong. C'est la vie. Moving on. But yeah, let's see. How long have I been on here? An hour, 15 minutes? That's not too long. Well, if you guys got some questions, hit me up on that. For those who might have joined here recently, the channel is now monetized, has been approved for monetization now. So we now will start having the occasional ads on some of the videos. I know they're kind of annoying, but at the same time, they help support the channel with ad revenue. And that's huge for us. And hey, if you guys want to support us, if you want to donate, check it out at the bottom of this chat thing here. We got Super Chat now. Someone should totally test that out. But we'll see. In fact, I should have some kind of alert thing that pops up on screen and basically says, hey, look at this awesome guy or girl. I don't discriminate. Paul. You think this is Dirk's last year? I hope not. I'm going to try and make a trip to Dallas and watch my Mavs. I think in all likelihood this is Dirk's last year. That was a very slow start to a sentence, followed by a very rapid completion ending. Completion sounds too sexual. But I think so. When we saw Kobe Bryant retire, he told everyone going into the year, this is my last year. And you saw kind of the circus that was everywhere he went. Every arena he went to for the last time, the opposing team would do some thing to honor him, give him some kind of parting gift, play his highlights like a tribute video. And I'm just like, this is really weird. And he's an all-time great, no doubt. But he got that superstar treatment, and someone asked Dirk about that, saying like, hey, when you eventually retire, are you going to do something like that? And Dirk is not that kind of cat. Dirk's like, no, I don't want that. I think when I retire, it's just going to be like, I don't even say anything, and then just when the season ends, I take a week or so, think about it, and say, yeah, I think I'm done. I think this is it. And I think he kind of got trapped into that this year, where he came out and said, well, 20, I still feel good. When asked about if he was coming back, he's like, I still feel good. I feel like I can still do it. And he wanted to leave the franchise in a better place, because if you remember all the issues with the Mavs front office and like the sales team and everything, the sexual harassment stuff and all that crazy stuff, Dirk didn't want to leave the franchise at that kind of time. And so it's like, okay, I'm coming back next year. And that'll be the now record-setting 21st year with one franchise. No one has ever done that. Kobe had the record with Dirk at 20. Dirk's going to pass that with 21. And he's got nothing left to do. Like, he'll catch Wilt Chamberlain this year, but LeBron's going to catch him well before he does that. Dirk will never go higher than 6th on the all-time scoring list. He's 6 right now. And about, a month and a half into the season, LeBron will probably catch him incredibly. So his teammates are already jokingly calling him 7 now instead of 6. So at that point, I think that's what you'll get. This is probably Dirk's last year. So yes, if you can, I absolutely recommend going to as many Maverick games as possible this season. Chili Bowl 20, Dirk off the bench. Yes, absolutely. It's time for Dirk to come off the bench, and I think it's best. Your starting lineup's going to be Dennis Smith Jr., Wesley Matthews, Luka Doncic, Harrison Barnes, and DeAndre Jordan. And Dirk will be off the bench. So that's what we're looking at. Paul H. Congrats, bro. I like your channel and videos. Oh, thanks, Paul. I'm pretty sure I've seen you on here before, so I'm guessing you're already subscribed. If not, hey, feel free to subscribe. We are a growing family and community here, like something like 1,200 strong, something like that. Let me look at my number here. Looks like 1,210. Yep, 1,210. Sweet. Oh yeah, for those also wondering, I know this is like a really weird time even for this open forum thing being on a Friday night, late Friday night. But in the future, I imagine this will be moved over to a regular weeknight. It just kind of happened out this way as I decided on the spot to do it. Let's see. I want Dirk to make an announcement. I think he deserves the circus, but he ain't that guy. Yeah, he's not that guy. He deserves it, absolutely, and he will have a statue outside the AAC. It should damn well be the start of the next season. If he retires after this coming season, opening night of the next year, I not only want the statue there, I want it unveiled with like a pregame ceremony with Dirk, because that's what that dude deserves. Dude is nothing short. I mean, if there is a Mount Everest of Dallas sports, Dirk's got to be on there. I don't know which president he is, but Dirk's on there with his mane of flowing hair and his tongue sticking out. And oh man, if I had my way too, he'd have his lumberjack beard from like 2013 or 12 or whenever that was, when they did the no shave until they reached 500 bit. Hey, Sugar Daddy, what's up? I don't know how much longer I'm going to be on air here, but welcome in, sir. Always nice to see you there. Oh, man. But yeah, Dirk's statue should be up there opening night of the following season after he retires. Man, I miss Tyson Chandler. I really want this Jordan thing to work like Dream. Yeah, Jonas, I agree. It bums me the hell out that Tyson Chandler, I mean, the dude's beloved by the fans, right? He was the heart and soul of that title team. He wasn't the best player, but he was the heart and soul of that team. And there is no doubt that he is to me, the best Mavs center in history. And it's one of those things where because of the lockout and Cuban looking at Oklahoma City at the time with Durant, Westbrook, and Harden, all freaking 22, 23 years old, whatever they were, he looked at that and he was like, we're not going to be able to compete with that next year like we are. But rather than try and build through the draft, he instead said, okay, I'm going to go out and I'm going to try and just get big fish. So I'm going to blow up the title team. Tyson's had a very injury-plagued career, and he had one great year for us where he stayed healthy. And so he let someone else go pay him big money when Tyson wouldn't take the low-ball offers, and he shouldn't have, by the way. He had his title, and he'd only been in Dallas 1 year. He had never been paid. So, yeah, Tyson, go get your money. Absolutely. I don't have a problem with that. But when that wouldn't work out, Cuban's like, okay, I'm going to start shifting my mindset to we're going to chase this pipe dream of Dwight Howard and Chris Paul and Darren Williams and DeAndre Jordan and insert big fish who would never give him the time of day here. Carmelo had a free agency visit with Dallas at one point. They kept trying to get meetings with LeBron but never could. Like, just really, really frustrating, vicious cycle there. And that first team after that with Lamar Odom, that's one of Cuban's regrets for sure. And on paper, it looked fine. On paper, it looked fine bringing in Lamar Odom, but dude was not in a good place, and that was such a disaster. They sent him away before the playoffs even started. If you haven't seen that video already, by the way, check it out. I got a video up on the channel from a couple weeks back, I guess. Mark Cuban's 5 biggest regrets as far as roster building. I also have the 5 worst contracts in Mavericks history. I've actually been like really putting in a lot of work behind the scenes lately, guys. The new stuff I'm going to start rolling out, it's going, I'm telling you, it's going to blow your mind. If you like my stuff right now, and now I know this live stream's a little disjointed. I'm talking about like my pre-rendered video stuff, like my uploads, like those two, the contracts and the biggest regrets. If you like those and you like the humor and the editing and things like that I do with it, man, you are going to be blown away, I think, by this. And maybe I'm hyping that up too much, but I'm really excited about some of this stuff I got coming down the pike for you guys. So definitely be on the lookout for that. Sugar Daddy, Dallas waived that center from Houston. Yeah, that was a really confusing thing. Not only that, Dallas basically paid to acquire him, cash considerations, and then waived him immediately. So I don't know what that was about. That's a really confusing move, but I don't pretend to understand every move the Mavericks make by any means. Oh, yeah, speaking of Tyson Chandler, to answer the rest of Junas's question. Yeah, so that was a bummer. You blow up the title team. Then you bring him back. 2015, you bring him back, trade for him. Last year of his Knicks deal. And it's like, okay. Cuban tells him, all right, I made the mistake once letting you go. I'm not going to do it again. And that team for Dallas with Dirk and Tyson Chandler and Chandler Parsons, make of that what you will, and Monte Ellis, that offense was like operating at a historic clip for Dallas before the ill-fated Rajon Rondo trade. Now, that team had problems. Don't get it twisted. It had no good point guard play because it had Jameer Nelson as its point guard. And that was a just black hole for the rest of that defense. It didn't have good defense. It wasn't a good defensive team, despite having Tyson. And it could not hold up and operate anymore. And they couldn't make much headway. And so Cuban swings for the fences. He does the Rondo deal. And I would say he made a very bad assessment. Again, hindsight 2020, but even at the time, Innie and I didn't necessarily agree with it. Just a risky acquisition. You take a guy who's ball dominant like Monte Ellis, your leading scorer, and who doesn't have any outside game at all, and who's a prima donna, and you put him with a strict head coach, and what do you think's going to happen? Turns out he's going to destroy the entire team. Not only is he going to destroy the entire team, he's going to destroy that entire core. I mean, they lost Chandler Parsons after that, which was a good thing. Let me clarify. A good thing. They lost Monte Ellis, who flamed out shortly thereafter, so maybe that was a good thing. He went to Indiana and didn't do a whole lot of note. Rondo obviously was gone, good riddance. And Tyson left because Dallas decided, all right, back to the big fish. Yo, DeAndre, what's up? And DeAndre pulled the whole, ghosting thing on him suddenly. Took back his initial verbal commitment and ghosted on him until he signed with the Clippers. So it is what it is. But I hate that Tyson's response to that was like, he basically kind of thought it was funny, He's said this before. I can't remember where. Maybe it was just social media. He loves the fans in Dallas. He hates the management. And they've screwed him over twice. I don't blame him. He's got every right. It hurts my heart a little bit, admittedly, that a player so beloved for me hates the organization that I cheer for. And it's just like, why? But it is what it is, man. You just got to shake it off. Can't do anything about it now. He's had 2 years here total. It's not like his jersey is going to be up in the rafters. He's got his name in the rafters on the championship banner. That's something. Miss in free agency, says Paul. Yeah, it's been pretty bad. I've never seen a team more obsessed and hell-bent on getting a big fish and appear so just woefully far from ever really getting one. They had one chance to pull it off, and it would have been right after the title. Had Dwight Howard not opted into the final year of his deal with the Orlando Magic, the talk was that the plan was Deron Williams and Dwight Howard to Dallas, because if you recall, Deron Williams was a free agent. That would have been to Dallas that offseason. But Dwight, kind of sensitive to the thought of him being this cancer in Orlando and his legacy and all that, basically was like, no, I need to fix this before I go. And he opted in last minute. And by the way, the reason I say that was the plan is because they had the same agent at the time. I think Dan Fagan, who has a great relationship with the Mavericks, also formerly DeAndre's agent the first time around. DeAndre fired him after the whole thing because DeAndre accused him of trying to push him to Dallas. But that's neither here nor there. Oh, I think Dan Fagan died recently, too. I think I remember hearing that. R.I.P. But, yeah, it's just one of those things where it didn't work out. The timing didn't quite hit, and Cuban's been, bitterly trying to chase it ever since. Sugar Daddy, have you heard about Wesley Matthews to Sacramento for Zach Randolph and that center, Cauley Stein? I have not heard of that. Is that the latest rumor floating out there for what Dallas would do? I could see Dallas trading Wes Matthews anytime between now and the trade deadline. He's an expiring contract, but they do love him. And I don't want Zach Randolph at this point. It would only be Cauley Stein that has any interest. So you're giving up a starter for a backup center is what that would mean. I don't put much stock in that. They like Wes too much, I think, to do that. But who knows? I didn't think that they would pull the trigger on Motley, and they did literally the next day and made me look like a damn fool. But no hard feelings. And he was right on that, though. Let's see. Oh, let me play a drop here. My unfortunate thinking of Dallas's playoffs chances this year. If it...
Playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs.
There it is. Little delayed. Don't know why. Hitman Heath is our best safety, and he's always an afterthought for some reason. Says Golden Garrett. Yeah, man. Jeff Heath's having a great camp. He made 2 days ago. He made a great interception off Dak, I believe, on a tipped pass. Cornerback got his hand in there and knocked the ball up in the air, and Heath flying out of nowhere, diving interception before it hits the ground. Really great play. Dude's got a knack, man. 2016, that playoff game versus Aaron Rodgers, he picked him twice. The second one, luckily for Green Bay, just got waved off because Morris Claiborne grabbed a guy's jersey, held him coming out of the top of his route on the opposite side of the field where Rodgers wasn't even looking, which is infuriating, and it cost him. Then last year, Jeff Heath, for at least 1 week, he saved the damn season when he forced that fumble off of Derek Carr through the end zone. Touchback, Dallas wins. Jeff Heath has a clutch factor to him, and yeah, there is no doubt he was rough at times last year, but the guy can play. I question if he's a guy who's better in small doses, which is why I thought if they were looking at getting Earl, which, by the way, I'm not stirring that pot at this point, but if they had ended up doing that, I thought he could be the guy, or not the guy, but a very good piece still for them, still getting, some snaps here and there. And that's just not the way it's looking like it's going to turn out, but I've heard he's had a very good camp. Him and Byron Jones are probably the two most underappreciated guys that we have on the team, I would say, not even just the defense. Tyrone's pretty underappreciated, but I would say that Byron and Heath probably bring a little more to the table. Tyron's just got the hard work ethic without the outstanding ability physically. But anywho, yeah, it'll be interesting. I think that I think Dallas Cowboys, I think they'll be good this year. I think they'll be a 10, maybe 11 win team. I don't necessarily have them winning the East, but I'm going to wait to do official predictions on that until the end of training camp. And I think the Mavericks will be anywhere from 11 to 8 in the West. I do think they got better, much better. I think they'll be, thankfully, exciting to watch next year because you're going to have two guys. You're going to have the excitement factor, the lightning rod in Dennis Smith like you had last year, but he'll be even better. Then you're going to bring in a guy who can play anything from the 1 to the 4 in Luka Doncic and has phenomenal vision and just a born playmaker. He's not blow you away athleticism either, and he's going to have to see about being able to defend side to side a little bit on that as well, be able to keep up with some of the speed of whoever he's guarding. But he should be an intriguing prospect. I mean, he's one of the most hyped prospects anywhere in the world in recent years. So Dallas got their man, and you add him into the mix, and then you add in a perennial lob threat and DeAndre Jordan, and you're going to have a more exciting team. That's just what it is. If they had held on to Seth Curry, I will not ever let that go. If they had held on to Seth Curry, I would say this is a playoff team. I am that much willing to die on that hill of Seth Curry. Any is on the hill for Doug McDermott. I say for what Doug McDermott got contract-wise, there was no reason for Dallas to try and match that because it's 3 years, $22 million fully guaranteed. I am willing to trust in our scout here, Max Levy, a.k.a. Rangers King 669 here in the chat if you've seen him before. He is actually a scout now for the DallasProspect.com. Did a phenomenal breakdown on the Australian sharpshooter Ryan Brokoff. If you haven't read that already, check it out. It's on the website, thedallasprospect.com. And I think that he's a super cheap alternative to Doug McDermott. And I think he's actually going to be a better defender on top of everything. The guy shot 50% from the international three-point line. There's going to be somewhat of a growing period, but I think it's a much better long-term setup for them. To me, Seth Curry is the one that hurt to lose. That's the one that I can't quite get over, but we'll see. They'll be an interesting team. Flamer. Mavs trade for Jimmy Butler. Say maybe for Barnes or Matthews in the deal. Butler would be an interesting trade because his situation is soured in Minnesota. He did not take the max contract offer there. It seems like he doesn't necessarily get along with guys like Wiggins and Karl Anthony Towns, and that's problematic for them. I do think he'll get shipped before the deadline because they're going to want to get something for him rather than nothing. As for the Mavericks, yes, Wes Matthews would be a fantastic piece to send back because it's an expiring contract, and Jimmy Butler would be a phenomenal two-way prospect to add. Probably walks in and is your best player. Yeah. I would love that. As far as Barnes, I don't know of their willingness to deal Barnes. They are really high on Harrison Barnes. I think they view Harrison Barnes as like the Michael Finley to Dennis Smith Jr. and Luka Doncic's Dirk Nowitzki and Steve Nash, and that they think that he's the guy he gets there a couple years earlier. He's the workhorse on bad teams, and although his ceiling isn't as high, he's like the guy that kind of holds down the fort, and it's like a loyalty to him, and they view him as being a big piece of what they're trying to build. Now, that's not to say that I think Harrison Barnes is as good as Michael Finley. I don't think that at all. But I do think Harrison Barnes, if they're gonna run him out through the rest of his contract, which I think they will, then fine. I don't hate him by any means. He's a good player. He's not a great player. He's probably a guy who his best role would be a third or fourth best player on a very good team. And if Dallas can become a very good team and make that the case, he'll be a good fit. Right now, the last couple of years where he's had to be the best or second best player, not a good fit. Not a good fit. So we'll see. It'll be interesting. And I always know when I'm starting to run out of things to talk about on the show when I start continually using the phrase, that'll be interesting, or it'll be interesting. So I'm going to take 3 more questions, and then I'm going to wrap this thing up, guys. I've been going for 1 hour, 37 minutes. Damn. So, yeah, next 3 questions, I'll take that, and we'll go from there. Junis, this one was already on the screen, so I won't count this one. The next 3 that come in. It is what it is, but if the Mavs and Jordan work really well, I want to lock the guy up for a couple extra years and not bigger fishes. Yeah, in that regard, I wanted the Mavericks to do a 2-year deal with DeAndre initially. I wanted them to do a 2-year deal with a team option for year 2. And for whatever reason, they chose not to do that. Because I looked at it and I saw all the money they had. Now, this is hindsight, right? But you look at how much money Dallas had in free agency this offseason. They spent 23 or 22 million of it, whatever, on DeAndre straight up. They had a ton of money available. And now, you would not have gotten a Boogie Cousins. He would not have taken the deal here like he took for Golden State. But just think about this. Look at what the market was. The NBA has gotten so insanely top-heavy that you got a few guys making all the money, and then you have a lot of other really big fish who can't really get get any money because they don't have cap room. That's how DeMarcus Cousins went for a 1-year qualifying offer for $5.8 million or $5.3 million, whatever the hell it was, to Golden State. Like, it's insanity. But, you know, that was available to him. What was another big man? Julius Randle, 2 for $18. I mean, now, Dallas made clear that they were not interested in Julius Randle, but it is telling, I think, that the market was so flush after the first day or two of free agency with good players still out there, and a lot of guys had to sign for less than they thought that they were worth, and I agree. And you kind of wonder if Dallas made a mistake spending quite literally all of its money on day one for DeAndre Jordan, and then they didn't even lock him up long term. It's a 1-year deal. Like, he'll make them exciting next year, but what the hell do we do next year? Like, what is your new deal for DeAndre Jordan? DeAndre was coming to Dallas no matter what because no one was going to give DeAndre Jordan $23 million. Look at the rest of the center market. Again, Cousins, 5.3 or 5.8, whatever that was. Randall's not a center, but he got his money. The only center who got straight paid was Clint Capella. He got $90 million from the Rockets, and that was because they were terrified of him just taking a qualifying offer and then being an unrestricted free agent next year.